Deputy Speaker, some things in this place are very black and white and others are a little bit grey. And being a pragmatist, I try and take on both sides of the debate and understand it from both points of view. And there's no question that I've received a lot of terrible tales about cyber security and cyber attacks from constituents who have lost an awful lot of money over the last few years. And this bill on the surface goes to address that issue, which is a good thing. So on one hand we have, I'm a lot more comfortable with one organisation having my details than 20. So for example, if I wanted to open an account with Optus or a bank or whoever, rather than have to give all these different organisations my information, the idea of giving it to one organisation such as a government, which in theory would spend and invest a lot more money in securing that information than a business would, because for a business it's an expense. It doesn't return any value to them. Whereas for governments, we have an obligation to protect people. So from that point of view, on the surface it seems like a good bill. But deep down, whenever I face these questions of I can see the good in it, but I can also see the bad in it, the question I always ask myself is, does it take away the freedom of choice? And that must be protected above everything else that we have in this country. And this bill takes away that freedom. It has the potential to. Now, the government is saying that it is a choice, and on the surface it looks like that. But when you read deep down and you go into section 74 of the bill, there are exemptions. And those exemptions, we've only got to go back to what happened during COVID with the state governments. Even though vaccinations were a choice, for many people they didn't feel like a choice. They couldn't go to work, they couldn't go to a football game, they couldn't go to a pub, they couldn't go interstate, they couldn't go to a funeral, they couldn't go to a wedding. That doesn't sound like much of a choice. And this has the potential to do exactly the same thing, and that is my concern, because it's the deprivation of human liberties. And we must protect that, because the greatest gift we've ever been given as human beings is a gift to choose. And when we take that away from people, we dehumanise them. We take away their humanity. And we can't do that. I'm also concerned with the fact that what will happen is that corporations and businesses, because they want most of all to report a greater return to their shareholders, which is their job, will do it at whatever cost to their consumer and their customer. And if they can find that this will make them more money on their bottom line by saving money of having to go through arduous other ways of finding ID and confirming someone's details, they will take it up. And then what they will do is they'll bring in policies that say, you can't open an account with us unless you go through this process. Again, taking away choice. You just cannot take away that choice. We're seeing it more and more, and we've heard it spoken about today about Orwell's 1984 and Huxley's Brave New World and all those sorts of things. And I don't want to dwell on these things because at the end of the day they're fictional, but people have correlated how much it's starting to seem like that. But I believe that it's our job as governments to sit there and as people in the parliament to look at it and pragmatically look at both sides. And I always try and do that because I think that most legislation that's introduced has a great motivation. And I don't think this is any exception. But we've got to drill down on the detail and make sure that it's actually going to do what it's designed to do. And I cannot see it doing that. The biggest issue with this is that when the coalition started to work on this, and I was on the committee that was working on this particular piece of policy, was that we said from the start, and I was never a fan of it, but from the start we said it must be a choice. It cannot be mandatory. And if it had stayed down that path, I may have reluctantly gone along with it, but the fact of the matter is, with this section 74, that won't happen. Because I also understand that there are people out there who want to give their information to the government. You know what? That's their right. And they have the same rights as a person who doesn't want to give the information to the government. And both people should have their rights protected to make that choice. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think that the Coalition has made the right decision in opposing this bill as it stands, and the amendments would have made it a greater debate, and I think the government has done themselves a disservice by not even considering the amendments and rushing it through because they're trying to hide it through budget week. And I think that they'll pay the price for that, because there will be a backlash from the electorate, because the Australian people, more than anything, want their freedoms protected. Thank you.